Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the practice session, the second practice session of the SAT English section. We would be looking at the writing section today. We would be practicing questions from the writing section. We would be attempting them together. We would be reading out the different kinds of concepts, the different kinds of standard English conventions within the questions that would be asked from us in the different question statements. So as this is the last session, so I would really want you guys to concentrate and try doing the questions on your own and see for yourself where you stand. And I'm sure that most of you would really find the questions easy and interesting, of course. So let's look at some of the questions and see what we are going to do. So the agenda for today is that we are going to attempt questions and we would be discussing the answers also. And then, of course, the application of different tips and strategies that have already been conveyed to you, that have already been discussed in detail. We'll be applying those and we'll be seeing what exactly is expected of us when we are doing the writing section questions. So let's proceed. So here's a passage. Let's just quickly skim through it. It's basically about Greek yogurt and way to go. Way is basically, although it's okay even if you don't know the meaning, but just to give you a quick overview, whey is basically the watery liquid that's left when the yogurt starts to make curds, right? You must have seen that water. So that's whey. This passage is about that, how yogurt production affects the environment. And of course, if you haven't read the passage, if you don't want to read it, that's fine. You can directly dig into the questions, but it's up to you. And keeping in mind that we have 35 minutes and 44 questions, 11 per passage. So let's just quickly dive into the questions. All right. So question number 1, it says, I'm going to read out the sentence from the passage and let's see what does it say. Right. So given these solutions, I'll read the entire paragraph. Greek yogurt business have found many methods of controlling and eliminating most environmental threats. Given these solutions, as well as the many health benefits of the food, the advantages of Greek yogurt outdo the potential drawbacks of its production. Now the word outdo. Do you think it's appropriate? Do you think it should be changed? Let's look at the options. So for question number 1, the options are no change, defeat, outperform, and outweigh. Now, if you look at the word outdo, this sounds more like an action that a thing like Greek yogurt is doing. So what I would suggest is that we should be changing the word and we should look for the most appropriate word out of these 3 choices. So the first word, defeat, not possible, not likely to be inserted over here in the passage, because this is not a war. It's not a battle that's happening between the Greek yogurt and something else. So defeat does not sound right. Then outperform. Once again, this is not a competition. This is not a project on which students are performing. So outperform also seems to be the wrong choice. Then the word D, outweigh, I think this makes sense, because when you're looking at the advantages of Greek yogurt compared to its drawbacks, the drawbacks of production, you're comparing them, right? The drawbacks and the advantages. So the right word over here that you could use is D, outweigh. This was easy, and I'm sure a lot of you must have gotten the right answer. I can already see some of you actually came up with the right answer. So this is correct. All right, question number 2. Which choice provides the most relevant detail? Now, over here, number 2, they can add it to livestock feed as a protein supplement, and people can make their own Greek-style yogurt at home by straining regular yogurt. Remember, we should be reading the preceding sentences also. I just read the same sentence, but I did not read the sentence right before it. So I'm going to go through that. To address the problem of disposal, Farmers have found a number of uses for acid whey. Right. So, a number of uses for acid whey. It seems as if the next few lines are going to be discussing how acid whey is useful. So, the first use is that they can add it to livestock feed as a protein supplement, and people can make their own Greek style yogurt at home by straining regular yogurt. Now, the problem over here is that in the same sentence, they have added they have inserted the comma, but the number of uses are not being stated. There's just one use that has been mentioned in this sentence. So we need to see which option provides us another use of acid whey. So let's read it out and find out. Which choice provides the most relevant detail? A, no change. B, supplement and convert into gas to use as fuel in electricity production. C, supplement while sweet whey is more desirable as a food additive for humans. D, supplement which provides an important element of their diet. Now, did you see option C and D are just continuing? Option C is explaining how sweet whey is a favorite for human beings as a food additive, and option D is just stating another advantage of the same. If you're using it as a supplement, you are providing an important element of diet to someone who's having Greek yogurt. So it's not providing another use of the acid whey which was previously stated in the sentence, right? In the sentence prior to this one. So this means that the option that we are left with is option B. And I can see some of you have actually given the answer B, supplement and convert it into gas to use as fuel in electricity production. So this is stating another use of acid whey and how it could be used as a fuel for electricity production. So the right answer is going to be B. Good. So let's look at the next question now. Question number 3. Okay, so this is the sentence. If it is improperly introduced into the environment, acid whey runoff can pollute waterways, depleting the oxygen content of streams and rivers as it decomposes. Can pollute waterways, depleting the oxygen content of streams. So we need to do something about can pollute waterways. Options are A, no change, B, can pollute waterways, C, could have polluted waterways, D, has polluted waterways. What do you think could be the right answer for this one? Keeping in mind the standard English conventions that we discussed yesterday, what do you think, guys? All right, so basically, can pollute waterways, depleting the oxygen content of streams and rivers as it decomposes. So basically, when you read this sentence, there seems to be nothing wrong with it, right? We do not need to insert an apostrophe because there is no possession shown in this particular sentence. It's talking about waterways as part of the sentence, but it does not show any possession with it, not before the comma, not after the comma. So why do we insert an apostrophe over here? There's no need for this. In option C, could have polluted waterways. If you read the rest of the sentence, it starts with the present tense. If it is improperly introduced into the environment, acid whey runoff can pollute waterways. So why should we insert could have over here? No need for the word could. And then option D, has polluted waterways. Once again, an unnecessary apostrophe showing no relationship with the rest of the sentence, and we do not need it over here. So the right answer for us is no change, because this statement, the original one, the sentence is absolutely correct. There is no grammatical error, there's no punctuation error over here, the comma is appropriately inserted, and there's no possession over here either. Question number 4. I'll read the sentence. Yogurt manufacturers, food scientists, and government officials are also working together to develop additional solutions for reusing whey. Yogurt manufacturers, food scientists, and government officials. Do you think we need to put this semicolon over here? If you remember, I mentioned that a semicolon is used to connect two independent clauses, whereas this seems to be more like a list because it's actually talking about yogurt manufacturers, food scientists, and government officials are also working together to develop additional solutions for reusing whey. The team, the people that are working to reuse whey, they need to be named in a list within the sentence, and we need to separate their names with a comma. So we do not need to have a semicolon over here. So first thing, we need to change it for sure. Now the options, let's look at them. No change. B, scientists, colon, and. Somebody asked me that colon is used to connect two independent or two dependent clauses. Guys, please remember, a colon always connects an independent clause with a dependent clause. An independent clause which is later explained with the help of a dependent clause. So over here, a colon does not make sense. Like I mentioned, these are the people who are trying to find solutions for reusing whey. So we do not need to put a colon over here. Option C, scientists and, okay, now this sounds like a better choice. Scientists and government officials are also working together to develop additional solutions for using whey. Now, this seems like an appropriate choice because the comma is correctly inserted, and you must be wondering why a comma before and. Now, the reason why we need to have a comma before and is because this is the sentence continues and government officials are also working. So it does not stop over there, right? There's a whole, explanation of what these people are doing. So in order to keep it separate, we need to use and as a connective over here, and we would be putting a comma before and. So we need this over here. So the right answer for question number 4 is going to be option C. And of course, we do not need to put a comma before, after and. In option D, there is a comma before and after and. So we do not require that. And please keep this in mind that this comma is unnecessary. So unneeded punctuation marks, remember we discussed them yesterday, they always create problems if you insert them, so avoid them. Now, question number 5. To make this paragraph most logical, sentence 5 should be placed. Let's see what this paragraph is all about, and then let's see what sentence 5 is all about. So the paragraph begins with this. If it is improperly introduced into the environment, acid way runoff can pollute waterways, depleting the oxygen content of streams and rivers as it decomposes. Yogurt manufacturers, food scientists, and government officials are also working together to develop additional solutions for reusing whey. Now, did you notice that when I read the first sentence and when I read the sentence after the full stop, the two ideas do not seem to be connected? The first one talks about the harmful effects of acid whey on the environment, and then the second one immediately introduces a new idea, or you could say an idea that does not relate to the paragraph. So the first option, A, where it is now, does not seem to be the right option, right? We definitely need to change sentence 5's position from here. We need to move it somewhere else in the passage. B, after sentence 1. Okay, let's go back to sentence 1 and see what it is all about. So sentence 1 is saying that given these solutions as well as the many health benefits of the food, the advantages of Greek yogurt outweigh the potential drawbacks of its production. Here they are mentioning that the advantages of Greek yogurt are so many, and then they have discussed them. This is now let's look at the next sentence, the one that we have to move. This talks about how we can reuse whey. So once again, not a smooth transition. That sentence, the first sentence, is talking about how advantageous is the use of Greek yogurt, whereas this sentence talks about who are the people working on solutions to reuse whey. So option B is not the right choice. Then option C, after sentence 2. Let's read sentence 2. So sentence 2 says, uh, to address the problem of disposal, farmers have found a number of uses for acid whey. They can add it to livestock feed as a protein supplement, and people can make their own Greek-style yogurt at home by straining regular yogurt. Now, over here, they are mentioning the problem of disposal and what are the uses of acid whey. If you look at this sentence, it is also mentioning how you could reuse whey. So if you insert sentence number 5 after the sentence number 2, this passage is going to be more effectively understood by the reader, and there would be a smooth transition, and of course the flow of argument would be there in the passage. So we should definitely move sentence number 5 after sentence number 2. So the right answer is option C. After sentence number 3, once again, sentence number 3 is also talking about the harmful environmental uh, effects. And then again, sentence number 3 has sentence number 5 right after it, right after a pause. So definitely not the right answer. So the right option is after sentence 2. All right. Moving on. The writer is considering, question number 6, the writer is considering deleting the underlined sentence. Should the writer do this? The underlined sentence is, though these conservation methods can be costly and time consuming, they are well worth the effort. If you go back, we have already read that how the people are working on reusing whey, what are the steps that they are taking taking some steps to reuse whey, right? Now the next sentence is, though these conservation methods can be costly and time consuming, they are well worth the effort. Nutritionists consider Greek yogurt to be a healthy food. It is an excellent source of calcium and protein, serves to be a digestive aid, and so on. So they, over here in this paragraph, they are talking about the advantages of Greek yogurt. They are specifically focusing on those, and they have actually mentioned them in the sentences that follow. So if we delete this sentence, the first one that's underlined, sentence number 6, what's going to happen? If we directly start the sentence with, nutritionists consider Greek yogurt to be a healthy food, it is an excellent. So this seems to be a little abrupt. It is better to create transition over here from the previous part of the passage to this part of the passage. So in order to do that, this sentence, I think it should stay over here. And let's go through the options to find out if we find something that might make us rethink about our answer. So should the writer do this? Should the writer delete the underlined sentence? A, yes, because it does not provide a transition from the previous paragraph. Well, I would say that it does, because it's talking about conservation methods that have already been discussed in the previous part of the passage. So in order to keep the transition smooth, if we add this line, it's absolutely fine. Then B, yes, because it fails to support the main argument of the passage as introduced in the first paragraph. Once again, wrong. If you remember, in the first paragraph, the author talked about the drawbacks of using Greek yogurt, and he also talked about the environmental harmful effects on the environment. But then he said at the same time it has a lot of health benefits, and the health benefits outweigh the potential drawbacks. So this is why option B is absolutely wrong, because it does support the main idea. It does talk about the conservation methods compared to the advantages of the Greek yogurt. So option B is not the right choice. Option C, no, because it continues the explanation of how acid whey can be disposed of safely. Okay, it continues the explanation of how acid whey can be disposed of safely. Let's look at option D. No should be the first part seems to be right, but let's read the other one to find out which seems to be the better choice. No, option D, no, because it sets up the argument in the paragraph for the benefits of Greek yogurt. This seems to be the better choice. Over here, if you see in sentence numbers in option C, they are saying that no, because it continues the explanation of how acid whey can be disposed of safely, whereas the rest of the paragraph talks about the advantages of Greek yogurt. So in that case, option D is definitely going to be the most sensible choice, and that's the right answer. Okay, now the next question. Question number 7. Nutritionists consider Greek yogurt to be a healthy food. It is an excellent source of calcium and protein, serves to be a digestive aid. Serves to be a digestive aid. Um, okay, serves to be a digestive aid. I think that to be is a little, it creates a little confusion in the minds of the reader. Serves to be a digestive aid. Rather than to be, if we replace it with a word, a single, we could say, preposition or any word that makes sense over here. Let's look at the options. um, B, as, serves as a digestive aid. C, serves like a digestive aid. D, serves for a digestive aid. Guys, the right answer over here is going to be as, because look at the sentence structure. Nutritionists consider Greek yogurt to be a healthy food. It is an excellent source of calcium and protein, serves as a digestive aid, right? So keeping that in mind, and it contains calories in its unsweetened, low and non-fat forms. So as is the more appropriate choice over here. It makes the sentence more meaningful. To be makes it overworded. We do not need to put to be over here. And if you think that there needs to be parallelism in the sentence and there was already to be mentioned over here, keep in mind that this to be is before the colon, right? So in that case, parallelism is not required for this to be over here. So we need to replace it with a word that makes more sense. So this is the right answer, 7B. All right. Question number 8. Okay, I'm going to read out the sentence that begins from where 8 is underlined. Nutritionists consider Greek yogurt to be a healthy food. It is an excellent source of calcium and protein, serves as a digestive aid, and it contains few calories in its unsweetened, low and non-fat forms. Now, what is wrong over here? Or what is right over here? Everything is right, but there is something wrong with it contains. We need to change it. Why do we need to change it? Because if you look at the sentence, if you read it from here, I'm going to read it again. It is an excellent source of calcium and protein, serves to be a digestive aid. Do you notice that the author did not use the pronoun it over here to introduce the subject again? He has not used it before serves. Serves to be a digestive aid and it contains few calories. So why has he inserted it over here? This means that there is something wrong with the sentence. We definitely need to get rid of this it over here. It's unnecessary. If it was placed before serves, if it was placed in the previous part of the sentence, then it would have made sense. But if you're not introducing the subject before again and again with the help of a pronoun, then there is no need to introduce a pronoun in the later part of the sentence either. So therefore, it is not required. We need to remove this, and therefore the right option, let's look at the options. B, containing. C, contains. D, will contain. What do you think, guys? This is a parallelism question for sure, because we are choosing the most consistent form of verb tense that goes well with the rest of the sentence. So if we see, it is an excellent source of calcium and protein, serves as a digestive aid, and contains few calories in its unsweetened, low and non-fat forms. Now this makes sense over here. Serves के साथ जिसका parallelism सबसे ज़्यादा effective sound कर रहा है, that word is contains. Will contain, containing, they do not show parallelism with the rest of the verb tense structure in the rest of the sentence, right? Okay. Number 9. So the right answer for question number 8 is option C, contains. Keeping in mind the concept of parallelism, verb consistency is very important. Now, number 9. This is a transitional word. Let's read what's wrong with also, or if nothing is wrong with also. I'm going to read it. Read the preceding sentence. Greek yogurt is slightly lower in sugar and carbohydrates than conventional yogurt is. Also, because it is more concentrated, Greek yogurt contains slightly more protein per serving, thereby helping people stay. Okay, the rest of this passage is on the next page. So guys, here they are stating that what are the health benefits of Greek yogurt, and then another benefit that it is concentrated. So in that case also seems like an additional benefit. It seems to be used because there is an additional benefit stated in the next sentence. So this seems to be the right transitional word. If we look at the other options, B, in other words, C, therefore, and D, for instance. In other words, we are not stating something in the same that relates to the previous sentence. We are stating another health benefit of the Greek yogurt. So, in other words, does not make sense over here because we are stating something different from the previous sentence. So, this transitional word won't do. Then option C, therefore. Therefore is usually used when you are trying to emphasize on the result of something that is stated previously. In that case, therefore also does not make sense over here. Greek yogurt is slightly lower in sugar and carbohydrates than conventional yogurt is. Therefore, because it is more. Now, do you see therefore and because they don't go together? So there's a hint. Therefore is the wrong answer. And then option D, for instance. For instance means for example. This sentence is not stating an example of the previous one. Therefore, the right transitional word that we are going to use over here is also. Pretty clear? So no change in this one. All right. Now the next sentence. It says, let me read this previous sentence. Greek yogurt contains slightly more protein per serving, thereby helping people stay satiated for long periods of time. Satiated, if you don't know the word's meaning, just look at the options first. Okay. A, no change. B, fulfilled. C, complacent. And D, sufficient. If you look at this word satiated, it is used for the people, thereby helping people stay satiated for long periods of time. Thereby helping people stay fulfilled for long periods of time. And if you read the previous sentence, it is talking about the protein content in the Greek yogurt, which is more, slightly more per serving, which means that it has something to do with the hunger, with the diet of the people, right? So this means it has something to do with people feeling feeling that they're not hungry anymore. So this is what you should be thinking about the word when you do not know the meaning of the word satiated. So the right answer over here is going to be no change. Satiated should not be changed. If you look at the options, fulfilled means to be content with something. When you're talking about food, this word won't make sense. When you're talking about food serving, fulfilled, it has more to do with I would say material needs or something like that. So fulfilled won't make sense. Then C, complacent. Complacent means self-satisfied. If you don't know the meaning of this word, once again, try to put this word in that sentence and see if that makes sense. Then option D, sufficient. Sufficient, people would feel, let's read the word sufficient, sentence with the word sufficient, thereby helping people stay sufficient for longer periods of time. It doesn't sound right. So definitely not the right choice. The right answer is no change, as already stated. Question number 11. Because consumers reap the nutritional benefits of Greek yogurt and support those who make and sell it, therefore farmers and businesses should continue finding safe and effective methods of producing the food. The sentence started with the word because, the connective because. Or we could say the transitional word. So over here, if we see that we have introduced therefore, which is also a transitional word. So if I see it carefully, I would definitely find out that therefore should not be used over here, because the sentence already begins with the part saying, because consumers reap the nutritional benefits of Greek yogurt and support those who make and sell it, farmers and businesses should continue finding safe and effective methods of producing the food. And then if you remove therefore and you put a comma, that would work as well. So therefore needs to be removed, and the right option in that case, so that the sentence does not remain overworded, the right option is going to be it, comma, farmers, right? Because there is a dependent clause and then an independent clause. So in order to connect them, we need to get rid of at least one of the transitional words. We don't need two of them to be introduced in the sentence. So the right choice is going to be option B. So this brings us to the end of the first passage. Here is another one. I'm going to go through the questions, and of course, you guys are also supposed to look for the answers on your own. Let's look at question number 12. Now, first passage done, 11 questions done. Now, this is another one. Here it says, let me read the name of the topic of the passage. It is Transforming the American West Through Food and Hospitality. Try to read the topic of the passage because that would give you a general idea of what the passage is going to be about. I'm not asking you to read the passage. Do not waste your time on that, but do read the topic because it won't take even a few seconds. So question number 12, himself or herself, C, their selves, D, oneself. Now, what is the sentence? It says, just as travelers taking road trips today may need to take a break for food at a rest area along the highway, settlers traversing the American West by train in the mid-1800s often found themselves in need of refreshment. I think when we are talking about travelers, and the subject has already been stated in the very first part of the sentence, just as travelers, and it has been mentioned. So if we use the word themselves for them, it makes sense. If we look at the other words, the other pronouns, himself or herself, it won't make sense. Their selves is not the right pronoun. Oneself, we are not talking about a singular subject, we're talking about travelers. So the right answer is going to be option A, no change. Question number 13. Which choice provides the most logical introduction to the sentence? All right, so over here, if we read the passage, it says, let me read it, the line. It says, despite having worked for railroad companies, Fred Harvey, an English-born entrepreneur, that's this where the sentence ends. Okay, so let's read the options. A, no change. B, he had lived in New York and New Orleans. So C, to capitalize on the demand for good food. And D, delete the underlined portion. Now guys, if we look at the previous lines, let me read them again so that you could understand. And you must have noticed that I'm reading the preceding lines over and over again for every question, because that is the demand of the writing and language section. If you won't read them, you won't be able to understand that what exactly is it that you need to fix within the passage, or is there anything that you actually need to fix or not. So in order to make the choice correctly, you need to read the sentences prior to the question, to where the questions part is underlined, and the sentences that are later. So let's look at this one. I'm going to read the sentence from where the last one is starting. However, food available on rail lines was generally of terrible quality. Despite having worked for railroad companies, Fred Harvey, an English-born entrepreneur, he decided to open his own restaurant business to serve rail customers. If you notice, this was a little abrupt. In this line, they are telling us that food available on rail lines was generally of terrible quality. It seems as if the author is really annoyed, and he is emphasizing on how the quality of food was. He has used the word terrible to tell what kind of food it was. But the problem is that right in the next sentence, Fred Harvey is being named and is being introduced. So what exactly was Fred Harvey introduced for? That needs to be mentioned over here. So we need to introduce him using a sentence that gives us some understanding of why is Fred Harvey being introduced over here, and how is the transition from one sentence to another smooth enough so that we know how and why is Fred Harvey going to be related to the passage theme. So the right option in that case is going to be option C, to capitalize, to emphasize on the demand for good food. This is going to be the right choice. Option B has nothing to do with the topic and the previous sentence. So, in order to make sure that there's a flow in the paragraph, a flow in these sentences, we need to introduce option C's sentence so that it makes sense. So, let's read it with option C. To capitalize on the demand for good food, Fred Harvey, an English born entrepreneur, decided to open his own restaurant business to serve real customers. Now, see, this seems to be more logical, more meaningful, and makes it clear for the reader to understand that why all of a sudden is Fred Harvey being introduced as an entrepreneur. So, this needs to be taken care of. All right, so the right answer is option C. Question number 4. We have sentence number 14. Despite having worked for railroad companies, Fred Harvey, an English born entrepreneur, now entrepreneur and he are underlined, if you notice that. So there is something that we need to do about it, or maybe we should keep it the same. So let's look at the options. Entrepreneur with a colon, entrepreneur with a semicolon, and then he, and then entrepreneur with a comma following it. So guys, if you look at the sentence, Fred Harvey, an English born entrepreneur, he. Um, if you replace he with a comma and you remove he, don't you think it would make sense? Let's read it with that. Despite having worked for railroad companies, Fred Harvey, an English-born entrepreneur, comma, decided to open his own restaurant. We do not need to put he over here because first thing, the full stop over here is wrong. This sentence is incomplete. Despite having worked for railroad companies, Fred Harvey, an English-born entrepreneur. What Fred Harvey, an English-born entrepreneur? So this sentence is incomplete. So first thing, we definitely need to remove the full stop. And second thing, we need to introduce a comma over here to connect the rest of the sentence and complete this entire sentence. So therefore, decided needs to be connected with the help of a comma, and the right choice is therefore option D. We do not need a colon over here. We do not need a semicolon over here because this is just, still the sentence is being continued because the previous part of the sentence is not even finished properly. So over here, a colon or a semicolon won't even make sense because this seems to be completely incomplete. This seems to be incomplete because this is not even a dependent clause because the sentence itself is not a clause. All right. Now, question number 15. Let's look at this sentence. Was unique for its. Let's see if it's right or if it needs to be changed. I'm going to read out the sentence. These Harvey houses, which constituted the first restaurant chain in the United States, was unique for its high standards of service and quality. Was unique for its high standards of service and quality. Definitely doesn't sound right because the subject says these Harvey houses. That's the subject of the sentence, a plural subject. So why all of a sudden do we see was unique for its? Once again, inconsistency within the sentence. The sentence structure seems to change. So we need to keep it consistent. We need to make sure that the verb that we are using is used correctly, keeping in mind the concept of singular and plural. And over here, subject-verb agreement is being, focused on. So in that case, the options, let's look at them. B, were unique for their. C, was unique for their. D, were unique for its. You know, option C is absolutely incorrect. Was unique for their. And then option B, were unique for their. Sounds pretty right. And then option D, were unique for its. Once again, this is a plural subject. So in that case, were and there are making the right choice. And we need to use option B over here instead of was unique for its because it's a plural subject. So you cannot use the possessive determiners such as its or you cannot use their. So please keep this in mind that you're not using either of these, possessive pronoun and possessive determiner. So guys, the sentence is going to be, These Harvey houses, which constituted the first restaurant chain in the United States, were unique for their high standards of service and quality. So option B is the right choice. So this brings us to the end of the practice session, the writing session. I am pretty sure that when you guys are going to practice the writing section questions, you would feel generally comfortable, because you know, when the more you practice the questions, the more you familiarize yourself with the different question statements and the requirement of the different questions that is there. You practice so many of the standard English conventions when you're practicing writing section questions: parallelism, be it punctuation, be it sentence structure, be it transitional words. So that stress or fear of being completely unaware of what is going to come in the passage, you know, it leaves you at an advantage when you practice enough. So guys, my request to all of you is to practice enough so that on the day of the test you are confident. You know that even if a difficult question comes across your way, you would be able to tackle it with with ease and without being panicked in a situation, putting yourself into panic. So that's about it from my side. I hope this workshop helped you clarify, answer your questions about what SAT verbal and the essay section is all about. Hoping for you guys to make good use of the tips and strategies, from you guys to make good use of the tips and strategies, inshallah. And thank you so much, everyone, for your time. I'll see you later. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.